Hey, are you ready to take control of your financial future? Welcome to Private Money Club. Private Money Club is the ultimate online platform connecting real estate entrepreneurs with private money lenders just like you. Whether you're looking to fund your next deal or lend money to grow your wealth, Private Money Club is your go-to resource. You can post deals, find funding, connect with other like-minded professionals. It's just a community. It's a community that you need to plug into. If you're new to the game, no problem. Our Learn platform and our weekly coaching webinars and our on-demand resources are here to guide you every step of the way. Join a thriving network of real estate experts who are already making an impact, and they're waiting to partner with you. So Private Money Club gives you the tools, the training, the connections, and everything you need to achieve your financial goals. So why don't you start now by going to privatemoneyclub.com. We'll see you inside. Hey, you need to become your own bank. And it's as simple as changing one thing, and that is where your money goes first. I mean, think about it. Household debts in this country are at all-time highs. You got tons of market volatility. You got the potential for Social Security running out of money. You've got global uncertainty, political divide, and you have to figure out where you're going to put your hard-earned savings. I mean, this is one of those times in history where the rich are getting richer, and it is time to learn the secrets of the wealthy. But here's the good news. Every single Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I put on a free webinar where I teach you how to take back control of your money by teaching you how to become your own bank. So click the link below and let's get started.
So let's go into the app, because the app was created after a dating site, believe it or not. So people with money and people that need money. Phone, swipe left. Ooh, I like that one. Swipe right. You want to go on. If you got money, you want to swipe left through all the deals. When you find one you like, boom, you're connected. How much more difficult does this really need to be? This isn't rocket science. They want you to think it is because they want control of your money. It is time to take back control of our money. I want to invite you to a free interactive webinar that we're doing to teach you how to get prepared for what's about to happen and how you can grow, preserve, and protect your wealth and get it ready for a recession or maybe the next Great Depression. So all I need you to do is click the link below. You're not going to want to miss this with all this stuff going on. Are you sick of having your money lying around not doing anything? Well, we've got the solution for you. PrivateMoneyClub.com. Back to you, Chris. So that's what it is. Private Money Club was created for you and for all of us. So I've got something special. Since you're here, you're listening to us talk to you about the infinite banking concept, I wanted to make an offer. Private Money Club is something that will benefit each of you, but we've got what's called the Accelerator. The Private Money Club Accelerator is a coaching program that takes together the knowledge that you'll need to be your own bank and puts it together with the opportunities in Private Money Club so that now you learn and apply the knowledge. Check it out. We got a very special offer for you to be part of the next Accelerator coaching program and get you into Private Money Club so your money starts working for you.
Hey everybody, it's Buff Finance Guy here, ready to show you how to make some serious gains. But not only in the gym, with your wallet too. Most people put their money in the bank doing absolutely nothing for them. But I'm gonna show you how it doesn't have to be that way. So take Andrew here. His money has just been sitting lazy in the bank. But all he has to do is change one thing, and that's where the money goes first, and everything changes. Just change where your money goes first, silly.
Wait, just one change?
Yeah, that's it. Instead of sending it to the bank, you send it to your very own banking system. And your money can grow and get stronger, just like me.
It's time for Money School TV. You heard it straight from the horse's mouth.
design, the Money School TV strives to bring you the most relevant content of how money really works, past, present, and future. It's not a one-size-fits-all system. This platform provides you with ways to implement strategic decisions while avoiding fear-based decisions at all costs. Totally digital with new content added all the time on financial wealth creation strategies and how to regain control of your money. This 2-hour monthly group coaching with Chris Noggle is available now for only $19 per month. This is something you don't want to miss. Click the link below to get access now.
Whoa! I feel great. My money's not being lazy anymore, it's getting swole. Just like me.
Attaboy, Andrew. No more lazy cash. Now your money is growing, strong, and totally under your control.
Wow, thanks, Buff Finance Guy. Now I'm ready to grow my wealth and feel as good as I look.
So if you want to learn more on how you can compound your money and your muscles, I'm at BYOB.
You have to be a part of it.
Do whatever it takes to get here.
Get your ass up and come.
So here we are out in Las Vegas, Nevada, at Dream Racing for the experience. We brought the whole team, the whole clan out here to race exotic sports cars like this GT4 RS. This is what making memories is all about.
Together, we create experiences for each other, around each other, and memories we get to create.
This is my third experience and I love it. Being at the experience brings out the camaraderie, being around like-minded people. It just brings out the best in you.
I don't know why the rest of you aren't here. It's an amazing event. I have never missed one since they started 3 years ago.
The breathing exercises to the mental, the Brent Kessler to now the racing to just the overall mindset. Your network is your net worth.
We can sit in a room all day, listen to the speakers, or we can come out here, make some quick laps, learn how to drive, and make memories that last a lifetime. You should be here next time.
Well, the biggest thing I hope that people get is something that they can actually apply in their lives. You know, that's the biggest thing for any of these events that we want. We want people to leave here not just riled up, not just excited, but actually going out and doing something that'll put them in a better financial situation, help their family. And for the speakers, my goal is that they go out and they impact the audience and bring something the audience never had exposure to that allows them to then fill in that piece that they're looking for. I'm going to be talking about more lease options. I'm going to be talking about equity shares. I'm going to be talking about a bunch of fun stuff today. Because again, I'm not here to teach about how to do those deals. I'm here to teach about how to invest in those deals.
Filled with individuals that are like-minded, that are at the top of their craft, they're at the top of their game. And for anybody that's an attendee, it's just a mind-blowing experience.
It's almost going to be hard to speak anywhere else but here because it was such a great experience. I felt like, I don't know. It was amazing. Nothing less than amazing, literally.
At the PMC Money Tank event, which is an epic event that we're putting together that does one thing and one thing only, makes everybody money. It brings people with money together with people that need money. It's like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You just smash them together and everybody wins.
Wednesday, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. Do it live!
Hey, what's up, everyone? Good morning. Looking forward to a fun What the F Happened show today. My name's Stephen Nagy. I'll be the host. Mr. Chris Noggle is actually out in sunny Puerto Rico with his family today. Hopefully they're stretching out on the beach, enjoying themselves out of the upstate New York, Buffalo area. But I'm down here in sunny South Florida, ready to rock and roll today. We got a ton of news to get to. It's just a constant fire hose every single week. We got a stacked lineup, a lot to get to today, a lot of discussions to be had. So definitely want to make this interactive. I'll be flying out to meet Chris. My wife and I will be flying out on Friday morning out to Puerto Rico to meet Chris. We are meeting with some executives and leadership of one of the mutually owned insurance companies that we do a lot of business with. So looking forward to a fun weekend out there. But before that, business goes on, and we got a full show for you today. So please keep the comments coming in over in the chat box. We'll definitely want to hear your opinions on some of this stuff that's going on. But we're going to be diving into all of this. Now, I am running the show myself today, so stick with me. Hopefully I get this stuff right. But let me play this quick introduction. We'll be right back to get the show started.
We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
It's one small step for man.
You ain't first. You're last.
Wednesday, 5:30, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Do it live.
All right. So happy 4th of July. Happy birthday, America. I hope everyone had a great extended weekend. I know we had a good time down here in South Florida, blowing up fireworks, playing with flamethrowers, and having the kids shoot Roman candles off their bikes while riding wheelies. We had a great time down here in Florida this weekend. I hope everyone stayed safe. I saw a couple videos, wild videos over the weekend. One little kid, his mom or somebody lit his Roman candle, and little toddler guy, as soon as it got lit, he went running. He bolted down the road, ran right into the house, and that thing started going off in the house. So hopefully Michael Kurse, one of our Private Money Club Premier members, actually posted that video. I saw it, had me laughing, but I hope everybody's safe and everything worked out fine right there. So what we're going to do, we're going to open up this morning. This morning's What the F Happened, because there is a lot of What the F news going on out there today, this week. So we're going to start with the economy. All right, so top of the news, the one big, beautiful bill, as they call it, did pass the House, and I believe has now been signed into law by President Donald Trump. So a couple highlights of that bill I just want to kind of hit on. The One Big Beautiful Bill Act slashes nearly $1 trillion from federal healthcare programs over the next decade, including drastic reductions to Medicaid, about $863 billion, and also Medicare. We'll talk a little bit about that. Critics warn these cuts will raise health costs, increase premium deductibles, expand paperwork, and jeopardize services for seniors, rural hospitals, and individuals with disabilities. So we'll talk a little bit about rising health costs as well. I mean, what have you seen in your lives? Have health costs been reasonable for you and your family, or are they astronomical like I typically hear and like I feel in my own life? But what do you experience in your own life? Also in the One Big Beautiful Bill, progressive analysts describe the act as a regression to pre-Affordable Care Act policies, with potential for millions to lose coverage by 2034. So again, a lot of debate, a lot of controversy around the healthcare system and medical insurance in this country. It seems like that's never going to change, but let's see what this is. I'm going to share a few articles that Chris sent directly to me this week that he felt were important that we talk about. One of those being tax changes under the OBBB and what that looks like in one chart. So again, Congress passed the President Trump's tax mega bill this past Thursday. The Big Beautiful Bill extends sweeping tax cuts while adding a senior bonus to offset Social Security taxes and bigger state and local tax deductions, among other measures. Here are the key tax changes and how the current law compares to the new legislation. You can see Donald Trump signing this thing into law. He did so on the 4th of July, kind of on Independence Day, kind of a statement signature for this statement bill that he put out that has, again, caused a lot of controversy. I mean, this bill, it increases, one of the things it doesn't, one of the biggest kind of things against it from like kind of Elon Musk and that side of the Republican Party right now, and as well as a lot of Democrats as well, but is spending. It continues to increase the national debt in this country. It doesn't really address those issues that we're seeing with, hey, can the country go bankrupt because it's spending too much money? But nonetheless, it's signed into law, and Trump said we'll deal with that stuff later. So if we look at this chart, comparing some of the tax laws, since that is what actually affects our lives on a daily basis when it comes to taxes. So key individual tax changes from Trump's big, beautiful bill. So current law on the left-hand side and the final legislation in this bill on the right-hand side. So standard deduction increased a little bit for single people, about $1,500 for married couples. The bonus deduction for older adults over 65 years old increased from $1,600 to $7,600 or $8,000 for unmarried, not surviving spouse. And that's through 2028. State and local tax deduction, otherwise known as SALT, which people like Chris and the team up in New York love the SALT deduction. People like me here in Florida do not understand why we subsidize these other states because of their high tax laws. Against SALT basically allows an individual to deduct the state taxes that they pay, the state and local taxes that they pay. They're allowed to deduct that amount from their national or their federal tax bill. So places here, like here in Florida, that do not have a state tax, we don't get a deduction for that. But places with very high state taxes, like California and New York State, obviously get a big, huge benefit from that. So it changes it from $10,000 limit through 2025, increased it to a $40,000 limit in 2025, increases 1% for the next 4 years, and then it's set to reverse back to $10,000 a year in 2030. So again, SALT is not off the table for future discussions, and something will have to be done in the future about that. Child tax credit. Currently, the max credit is $2,000 per child through 2025. Refundable portion, $1,700 for 2025. The new bill says the max credit of $2,200 per child, again, with the same refundable portion of $1,700 this year. Estate and gift tax exemption, $13.99 million. Single, just under $28 million for a married couple. And that has increased slightly to $15 million and $30 million, respectively, through next year. It also included a deduction up to $25,000 per year for the next 3 years for taxing on tips, which was a bit of a change. Currently, in the current tax system, all tips are taxed. The initial proposal in the bill was no tax on tips, and that did get changed in the House bill that now is passed to a deduction of up to $25,000. So not a huge change at the end of the day, but still something, and hopefully that does help, especially lower income individuals and families. So hopefully that does help. Same with overtime pay and a couple of these other things. They changed it from no tax on overtime to a deduction with limits. So we saw that with overtime pay and auto loan interest as well was added onto there. So deduct up to $10,000 of annual interest for new auto loans for the next 3 years. Trump accounts for child savings, one-time $1,000 credit to account per child born over the next 3 years, and a new charitable deduction for non-itemizers of $1,000 single, $2,000 married, filing jointly. So some of the kind of the major tax changes that we saw come out. So does that affect your life? Does it not? Would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking, and let me go over and check the comments while I'm talking about this. All right. All right, so Shauna is talking about Money Tank, which is our live biannual event that we do. This next one coming up is in Orlando, Florida, November 7th and 8th. We'd love to see you there. Tickets are on sale now. Go to privatemoneyclub.com/money tank to get your tickets. Definitely looking forward to that event. Let's see. Lisa says, good morning. Aaron says, I'm off to work. Yeah, what's up, Aaron? He's building and sent me a text. Aaron actually sent us a text over the weekend. He just purchased and is rehabbing a beautiful old new car. So congratulations to Aaron on that. Justin Streeper, one of our favorites, said, how about all of these flash floods from the 4th till now? It's such a shame to see. Yeah, Justin, absolutely. I definitely had that on my list to bring up and briefly talk about, but sad situation. Flash floods. I saw over the weekend. There was a Christian girls camp. They do a summer camp. And there was, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 girls at this summer camp spending the night. They were camping out down by the river. Unfortunately, unprecedented flash flood hit the area. A lot of rain. And I saw somewhere that the river rose almost 30 feet within like 45 minutes. Watched a couple videos on it, time-lapse videos, and it's just scary, freaky how quickly. Did anybody else see these videos? But this river just went from a normal river to just overflowing over the riverbanks and flooding the roads and just completely crashed down and took out this camp that these kids were out. It was a very, very sad situation. I think there's been 25, 30 deaths of these young children that occurred. And, you know, of course, as soon as it happens, just the polarizing, negative, bullshit world that we live in today, just completely divided world that we live in today. You had an entire group of progressive, liberal Democrats. I mean, I don't know what other way to say it. Just these ladies were all over social media, just, you know, hey, this is God's work. These white children, you know, oh, they, you know, this is their fault. They would have been the ones that were saying, oh, if these were, you know, immigrants that got killed or you know, Spanish people or Mexican kids, they would have been oh, they deserved it, that kind of thing. You had, you know, this whole fraction that was kind of going that route, which was just pathetic and sad to see. And some of these people were on boards for the city of Houston, you know, some of these different organizations for the city of Houston, and immediately got fired. One of them was a pediatric. I think she was a doctor, worked with children somehow, saying all this just vile stuff online. And I saw she got fired as well. So it's good to at least see, you know, it's not being allowed, but just the fact that people even think that way is sick. And then you saw the mainstream media immediately trying to blame President Trump for various cuts with the National Weather Service and some of this stuff. And that was their take from this disaster that occurred immediately. It was all over CNN, all over NBC, all over the normal news channels that you always see. And they just blaming Trump for these flash floods. And then all of a sudden the National Weather Service, no, we were overstaffed. We put out warnings hours before. It's just a disaster. I mean, bad things happen in this world. It's very sad. All we can do is do the best we can to prepare. So Justin, prayers with the families. It's just horrible, but it just goes to show you how divided and how just pathetic some people are today, and especially the mainstream media. Like, there's a time and place for that stuff, and it was not this weekend. Shauna brings up a good point right here. If you do see any tips, any clips, any news stories you'd like us to cover, please send those to us. WTF@chrisnoggle.com. We will pull those up on the show and talk about those. We're going to talk about insurance costs as well. I like to actually get into that. It's part of the discussion here. So healthcare costs. Shane said our insurance costs have gone down since not having insurance. Getting items you insured costs less. You know, there's a strategy there where if you go in and you need something done, you ask them for the cash price. And there's a lot of examples of this where it's like 10 times less than what the insurance price is. So when you start doing the math and paying your monthly insurance premium, you pay all the deductibles and everything else that they charge you for, is it cheaper just to go cash? Now, is there risk involved? Absolutely. If there's a major thing that happens, it could bankrupt you, and that happens to people as well. But, you know, it's sad to see that some people are having to go that route maybe and kind of considering that. Health insurance, Justin said, is BS. That's why I've switched to holistic doctors. even paying out of cost. Yeah, so kind of the same thing right there. Sean is saying the same thing. I pay out of pocket. Tess said, I've been in high deductible health plans for years. The insured piece is increasing. In my experience, the high deductible component has tripled in the past 10 years. You know, I pulled up I have a post here I'll share, and it kind of talks about healthcare and the share. This is the share of household expenditures as it relates to healthcare costs. And this is a chart that's going from 1929 to 2024. This is from the New York Times, and it's an analysis of the Bureau of Economic Analysis data. It says the healthcare category includes spending on health insurance and pharmaceutical and other medical products by the New York Times. So it kind of shows you, you know, if you take 100% of your household expenditures, what percentage over time went to these various costs. So you can see all the way back to 1929, where healthcare costs, you know, were always kind of up and down, you know, what that looks like to share. And you could see, you know, starting at about 1970, 1980, you could see this start growing. And you can really see when Obamacare passed back in 2000, when was that? 2008-ish, the late 2000s, when Obamacare passed, you kind of see that really increase. And, you know, since then, it's just constantly been a huge, huge, huge cost. You know, Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, was supposed to solve this problem and decrease the cost of medical insurance and medical care in this country. And it's really has not helped at all, as you can see by this. And it's a big problem. I mean, that's a huge share of our overall expenditures when it comes to life. I mean, housing and utilities have stayed relatively, you know, even. Other household expenditures, durable goods even have stayed. Clothing and footwear has gone way down, obviously, with, you know, worldwide trade and manufacturing and everything that's happened with China and everything over the years. You know, those costs, manufacturing costs, have drastically gone down, but healthcare just continues to be a disaster area. So it's not just anecdotal. It's not just what you're feeling, you know, in your own lives. You know, data does show that this is a crazy, crazy problem in this country. All right. So let's keep rolling with news about the economy. So this was an article that was shared to me by Brent Kessler. So a lot of you guys know Brent Kessler was myself and Chris's mentor, and really helped us get into the business of infinite banking and becoming your own bank. So shout out to Brent Kessler. Looking forward to seeing him out in Puerto Rico as well. But he sent us this article over the weekend, which I found interesting. So it says billionaire Ray Dalio, who we talk a lot about on this show, is warning. He's out there warning of a big, painful disruptions after Congress passes Trump's spending bill. So Ray Dalio thinks we're going to see some big problems coming up in the economy. Is Ray Dalio right? What do you guys think? And I'll read down through this briefly. Bridgewater founder warns of economic consequences unless deficit is reduced from 7% to 3% of GDP. Again, all this spending is just shooting our deficit and our national debt skyrocketing right now through the universe, and it's not slowing down. And Ray Dalio is saying that's unsustainable. We have to control that. Congress officially passed the bill. Massive money printing. So unless this path is soon rectified to bring the budget deficit from roughly 7% of gross domestic product to about 3% by making adjustments to spending, taxes, and interest rates, big painful disruptions will likely occur. Dalio said the bill, which now heads to the president's desk to be signed, again, it was signed, is expected to result in nearly yearly deficits of $2 trillion with revenues of about $5 trillion exceeded by spending of about $7 trillion, which just $5 trillion in spending annually is just wild, or $7 trillion in spending annually is just wild. This deficit would increase the national debt over the next decade, pushing the debt, currently the equivalent of about $230,000 per U.S. family, to about $425,000 per family, he warned. Paying off this debt has also become increasingly expensive. Interest and principal payments on the debt would rise from around $10 trillion, $1 trillion of which is interest, to around $18 trillion, of which it will double to $2 trillion would be interest. This would result in either spending being slashed, unimaginable tax increases, or a lot of printing and devaluing of money and pushing interest rates to unattractively low levels. And we see this occurring right now in places like over in Europe, and what's going on in the UK right now. So this isn't just, theory of what could happen. This is occurring right now in countries over in Europe. So I think it's time for Congress and the administration to maybe take a look at, what is going on in other places and what is this going to look like long term? Because I agree with Ray Dalio. This could be serious, serious problems. It's not just Ray saying this. This is Elon Musk's entire gripe and fight against Donald Trump right now. Elon Musk is saying this is unsustainable spending and we need to do something about it. All right. Other news in the economy. Chris has sent me a couple articles, and I'm just going to share those with you guys. So these are some of the articles, again, that I wanted to share from Mr. Chris Nagy. All right. So this was an email talking about Federal Chair Jerome Powell was accused of lying to Congress over $2.5 billion Palace of Versailles headquarter revamp. So Jerome Powell is asking for $2.5 billion to renovate and rehab the headquarters of the Federal Reserve, which is interesting. I just saw an article this morning talking about the Dallas Cowboys. Any Dallas Cowboys fans here? But the Dallas Cowboys built a brand new stadium a couple of years back. And this stadium is just unbelievable. It is a work of modern technology and architecture. And that stadium, guess how much that stadium cost to build from scratch, brand new? About $1.2 billion. So basically what Jerome's asking for to renovate the current building, we could have built 2 Dallas Cowboys unbelievable structures. So is there some waste or fraud involved in this ask? I don't know, but that seems like a whole lot of money for a renovation. So Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell is being accused of lying to Congress after he denied that a $2.5 billion revamp of the central bank's Washington headquarters will load the facility with lavish amenities, and some are demanding that he be punished. Powell called the Post exclusive report in April about the bloated renovation project, which led Senator Tim Scott to liken it to the Palace of Versailles during a grilling by the Senate Banking Committee last week. Misleading and inaccurate. There's no VIP dining room. There's no new marble. There's no special elevators, Powell insisted under questioning from the powerful panel on Wednesday. There are no new water features. There's no beehives, and there's no roof terrace gardens. But Powell, who is meanwhile facing heat from President Trump over a failure to slash interest rates, directly contradicted the project's own planning documents, which were signed off on by government pen pushers in 2021 and which haven't been revised since. The private dining rooms on level 4 of the Fed's building will be restored, reads one excerpt. The governor's private elevator will be extended to discharge at the dining suite level. The documents also expressly mention vegetative roof terrace that will welcome urban wildlife and pollinators, as well as marble and water features. So you guys decide. Is Jerome Powell trying to play a fast one on U.S. taxpayers to get this money to build a very lavish building for the Federal Reserve, or is he just unaware of what that money is going to go to that he's asking for? I don't know. Let's see. What else did Chris share with me this week? The Fed has little to do with rates. According to Jim Rickards, happy Independence Day. Welcome to another session of Ask Me Anything. Before we get to this week's questions, I wrote a book back in 2011 called Currency Wars. Really good book, by the way. Kind of warning people. So this week's mailbag includes, here's a few questions. Is President Trump correct in his thinking that the Fed lowering rates would be good for deficit reduction as it would lower the interest on the national debt? And the answer is no. Interest rates on U.S. Treasury securities definitely have an impact on the federal deficit. But the Federal Reserve does not control interest rates. The Fed controls what is called the Fed funds rate, also called policy rate. But the Fed funds market has not existed since 2008 because of the trillions of dollars of excess reserves held by the banks. Short-term rates, such as Treasury bills, are already lower than the policy rate, so the Fed has no influence on those. Intermediate to long-term rates are controlled by the market, not the Fed. So interest rates matter to deficits, but the Fed has little impact on interest rates, contrary to popular belief. So I thought that was an interesting little story right there. And all right, cool. All right. So our next segment after the economy is going to be what the F is happening in the USA. We'll be right back to dive into those wild, controversial topics in 8 seconds.
My fellow Americans.
So you know the thing.
All right. So in what the F news when it comes to the United States of America, a couple fun topics before we dig into a little bit more serious stuff. So first off, the TSA has decided to end one of the most, in my opinion, annoying rules of airport security. So this is good news for travelers, in my opinion. Now, hasn't affected me in many, many years as I do travel with TSA pre-check and clear and all the rest. So airport travel is never too difficult. But for those of you that are tired of taking off your shoes, good news. As of yesterday, travelers no longer need to remove shoes and socks during standard security screenings. That's a policy shift from the 2006 error when they implemented that. The change currently implemented at select airports like Baltimore, Cincinnati, Fort Lauderdale, and Philadelphia aim to reduce wait times and streamline operations, while TSA officers retain directionary authority to request shoe removal for additional screening. The move could diminish TSA pre-checks exclusivity. Well, I hope so, because those TSA pre-check lines can get pretty long as well. So if people stop using pre-check, go back to general lines, that will free up pre-check for me to get through quicker. So that sounds like a good plan to me. On July 4th, there was a domestic terrorist attack on an ICE detention facility by a group of progressive leftists. In Alvarado, Texas, a group of 10 to 12 individuals wearing military-style attire launched a premeditated ambush on ICE detention centers using fireworks to lure out officers. Among the assailants were at least 10 charged suspects facing attempted murder of a federal officer. The wounded cop has been released from hospital and is expected to recover. Investigators described the incident as a violent attack tied to anti-ICE and Antifa rhetoric. And again, we've now seen this for the last couple of years. The mainstream media, a lot of these politicians, they go on television and they spew out all this rhetoric. I mean, how many times did we hear during the campaigns that Trump is Hitler, Trump is a fascist, Trump is going to end the Constitution, he's going to end our democracy, he's going to do all this stuff, he's the worst man in the world, we can't allow this to happen. It came from prominent politicians to every single talking head on every mainstream media in the country. And what did we see? We saw multiple attempted assassinations on Donald Trump's life, with one of them taking off his ear and nearly killing the guy. And now we're seeing this with all the rhetoric around the illegal immigration. You know, how it's the Gestapo out there. And these are coming again from prominent politicians in this country, calling them calling what's happening the Gestapo and comparing ICE agents to Nazis, and they're storming through the streets and they're rounding people up and they're setting them to cages and all this complete just bullshit. And it's leading to things like we saw over the weekend with this attack. And this isn't just a lone, lunatic that went out there and this was a planned attack. This was a group of 10 to 12 people with a detailed plan attack on how they were going to do this. So it's really ramping up right now, and this is not good whatsoever. So I'm hoping that we see a kind of volume down knob in a lot of this talk across, all planes. And this goes both ways. We're just happy to see it right now, coming from more of the progressive leftist side. So can we turn that down a notch? Because none of this stuff's good for anybody in this country. I can promise you that. So what do Americans think about illegal immigration? And this was a poll. I'll share this. This was from NBC, I believe. But we're seeing this across the board now.
Marquette, 64%. Deport all immigrants who are here illegally, 55% of the New York Times. Marquette, 64%. CBS News, 57%. ABC News with a slightly different question, 56%. So what you're seeing essentially here is a very clear indication that a majority of Americans, in fact, when they're asked this blunt question, which I believe gets at the underlying feelings, do in fact want to deport all immigrants who are here illegally. There's no arguing with these different numbers because they're all essentially the same across 4 different pollsters.
So there you have it. I mean, again, immigration, illegal immigration is a very touchy subject for a lot of people, and rightfully so. I live in South Florida, and, immigrants, people from Cuba, people from even Haiti, people from these other places, Mexico, Spanish, South America, Central America. It's obviously very prevalent here. It's been like that my entire lifetime. Incredible people. It's part of our entire community, economy, everything else. So when I see, these ICE agents going into these communities and rounding people up and sending them out, and you see the, things like alligator Alcatraz going on down in the Everglades, and, it's definitely mixed emotions. But at the end of the day, when we see what the Biden administration did, allowing, in a lot of estimates, 20 million, maybe more people into the country, just completely unvetted, unchecked. Who knows who they let in over the time? When you look at history, when you look at, okay, that's, we have to do something about it. We can't have a country of rules. And the biggest problem is in the past, at least, it seems like in my lifetime, it seems like when people came to this country, they came here for a better life. They came here to assimilate and take on American values and become part of the American culture and be Americans. But it seems like that's changed in recent years. It seems to me like a lot of the immigrants coming here right now want to destroy the country, want to tear down our structures, our monuments, the people that we care about, things like that, the morals that we have, our values. And it just feels like that. And you see that in these big cities where you see these protests, and there's very anti-American. They're burning American flags. They're waving others' countries' flags, chanting death to America, chanting all this stuff. And we see this. And so, at one point, enough is enough. If we're not going to have people coming here that are going to improve our country, how do you figure out who's who? Well, it's gotten to the point, it seems, where we can't figure that out. And we're going to have to start fresh. And the only way to do that, it seems, is to get illegal people that don't belong here out of the country. Let them come here legally and go from there. And again, this is not me saying this. This is polls that CNN is covering from the New York Times, from CBS News, from ABC News, from Marquette. People want illegal immigrants out of here. And this isn't asking a question, criminals only, or violent criminals or rapists. This is all illegal immigrants. So how do you feel about it? I'm curious, because that is, again, it's a very interesting topic. Now, we see some of the normal, figures out there that are railing against this. Obviously, the people out in
unbox a package from Custom Captain with me. Okay, so I sent over a photo of my boat to the Custom Captain. And they...
All right, so this is an article, LA Mayor Karen Bass joins controversial lawsuit to block Trump's immigration enforcement measures. So she joined the ACL lawsuit against the Department of Homeland Security, of course. So basically trying to stop the Trump administration from being able to do this. So we see that. So they are going to continue to sue to try and go against the will of the people. Again, you just saw the polls. You see what people want. Now the Supreme Court did come out and expanded Trump's power. So over the weekend, again, this has been brought to the courts already, and it looks like the Supreme Court is starting to make some decisions. So I'll share this. So in birthright citizenship decision, the Supreme Court expanded Trump's power. And so the Supreme Court is starting to weigh in on some of these different issues. Supreme Court has recently addressed several high-profile immigration cases with notable focus on deportation policies and judicial review. The court has allowed the Trump administration to proceed with deportations to third-party countries in certain situations, while also addressing issues related to birthright citizenship and judicial review of agencies' actions. So it seems like the Supreme Court is siding primarily on the immigration issues with the Trump administration. So it brings us to the question: is this a Trump thing? Is this a Republican thing? Or is this something that's happened for a very, very, very long time? And I have some stuff on that. And we see that when it comes to, some of the different issues that were passed in the big, beautiful bill as well. It's not just immigration. It has to do with welfare, some of these Medicare and Medicaid cuts, some of these changes to welfare and some of these SNAP programs and EBT cards and things that have, I believe there was a work requirement that was added, and there's some regulation around who can get some of this assistance and things like that. And when you look at the data, I mean, I think we can all agree that there needs to be some kind of change. There's a lot of people out there that milk the system, as they say. They're able-bodied, they could go work, they're not putting themselves in the work because they're getting all this free stuff out there. They're able to live on it. And so it's like our taxpayer dollars are going to able-bodied people. So again, just like immigration, where it almost went too far and now we're having to go back, it seems like the welfare system, that's occurred as well. And I feel like it's been leading up to this for the last 10 to 20 years. And we see this across the board. So let me just read a couple things. First off, I'll play one video, and then I want to read some quotes to you guys, and then you can tell me what you think about this. So let me play this quick video, and then we'll go from there. So this was 1996, Democrat president. So it's almost 20 years ago, Democrat President Bill Clinton. So let's hear what he had to say when it comes to this subject. Hopefully you guys can hear this.
Nearly 30 years ago, Robert Kennedy said, "Work is the meaning of what this country is all about. We need it as individuals. We need to sense it in our fellow citizens, and we need it as a society and as a people." He was right then, and it's right now. From now on, our nation's answer to this great social challenge will no longer be a never-ending cycle of welfare. It will be the dignity, the power, and the ethic of work. Today, we are taking an historic chance to make welfare what it was meant to be, a second chance, not a way of life. This bill will help people to go to work so they can stop drawing a welfare check and start drawing a paycheck. It is now clearly better to go to work than to stay on welfare. Clearly better. Because of actions taken by the Congress in this session, it is clearly better to end the terrible, almost physical isolation of huge numbers of poor people and their children from the rest of mainstream America. We have to do that. Today, we are ending welfare as we know it. All
right, so I'll stop that there, but you guys get the gist. Donald Trump decides to do something about the welfare system in this bill and moving forward, and he's called dictator, fascist Hitler for doing so, and he's going to kill people and make people go hungry and starve to death and all the rest of the rhetoric. But again, this has been a talking point for every president, basically of my lifetime. And so just because it's Trump now, it just goes to show you how wildly divided things really are right now. So I just wanted to read a couple other quotes that I found when I started diving into this topic. And I'll read a couple of these now. So just to give you a couple examples. So in 1995 State of the Union address by Mr. Bill Clinton, He said, all Americans are rightly disturbed by the large number of illegal aliens entering our country. The jobs they hold might otherwise be held by citizens or legal immigrants. We must do more to stop it. That was exactly 30 years ago, right? By Bill Clinton, okay? Saying the exact same stuff that Trump says now that Trump is called a fascist dictator for. 2005, 20 years ago, by President Barack Obama. We simply cannot allow people, this is a quote, we simply cannot allow people to pour into the United States undetected, undocumented, unchecked. Joe Biden, 2006, direct quote, I voted for 700 miles of fence. And the reason I did is because we don't need a physical wall except in certain places. Okay. Fast forward to Trump. He builds part of a wall. Suddenly it's racist. He enforces immigration law. He's labeled inhumane. He calls for merit-based immigration. It's an outrage. As we can see, the rhetoric is flipped, guys, not because the ideas changed, but because Trump said them. It's just tribal politics are just dominating everything right now. It's really, truly amazing. But let me just show a couple other examples that kind of are away from immigration, but just other things that are kind of going on right now that have been said by for years, 20, 30 years, decades at this point. But now because Trump's saying it. So when it comes to China and trade, so during the Obama-Biden era, Obama called out China for currency manipulation and unfair trade practices. Hillary Clinton supported Buy American provisions and tariffs on Chinese tires in 2009. Joe Biden in 2012 said China's cheating and we're going to stop it. Trump actually imposed tariffs, confronted China head on, and emphasized economic nationalism, but suddenly it became dangerous, reckless, and trade war fear-mongering. So it's completely flip-flops. When Democrats did it, it was protecting American jobs. When Trump does it, it's economic isolationism. Another example, bringing manufacturing back. Obama, Biden, and Clinton all promised to revive American manufacturing and rebuild the middle class. Go watch the speeches. Biden, Obama, Clinton, all of them, watch their speeches. They were pro-American manufacturing, bring it back to the middle class. Now, Trump offered tax incentives, brought plants back, and made reshoring a centerpiece. Critics said those jobs aren't coming back until COVID hit and supply chain resilience suddenly made Trump's policies look smart. The flip-flop, Democrats campaigned on this, but only Trump aggressively acted on it and then was mocked for actually trying. So you'll see this. Not only does Trump say something, he's doing it. What's the difference for the last decades of my lifetime? These Democrat presidents talked about it, campaigned on it, and what happened? Nothing. They did nothing. That's the difference. So are people mad that he's actually doing something or what he's saying that he was going to do? That's crazy town to me. Another example, NATO funding and burden sharing. Obama and Biden repeatedly called on NATO allies to pay their fair share. Obama, free riders aggravate me. Now Trump said the same thing more bluntly. He got Germany and others to up their defense spending. Suddenly he's weakening NATO and insulting our allies. Criminal justice reform. One more example. Biden authored the 1994 crime bill. Clinton supported tough on crime policies. Both bragged about being tough on super predators. Now, Trump signed the First Step Act, releasing nonviolent offenders and earning praise from groups that once hated him. Many on the left try to pretend it was meaningless despite pushing for those reforms. Democrats called for reform. Trump actually signed it and still got no credit. Prescription drug prices. We talked about that before. I was trying to tackle that. Obama and Clinton campaigned on letting Medicare negotiate drug prices. Now Trump signed an executive orders pushing for price transparency, international price indexing, and drug importation. Democrats said they wanted it. Trump did it. They downplayed it and or obstructed it. And we see this over and over and over again. And that was a little, some of those points came from a conversation I had with a guy named Peter Latroio out of New York City. A Harvard guy. So thank you for that discussion I had with him over the weekend as we were discussing some different points and flip-flops. And I bring all this up, guys, not to talk politics, but just to show the hypocrisy out there. When we look at the news, we think about the economy, we look at the stock market, we think about our finances, we think about our money, we think about all these different subjects. It's really hard to know who to believe, who to trust. what to understand, because what is said today was completely different than what was said from yesterday, and it's going to be completely different from what is said tomorrow. It's all viewed in these political lenses these days. What side of the fence are you? What tribal team are you on? And I hate this stuff. I hate that it has to be that way, and that's why I just wanted to point out some of that stuff as we go here today. All right, cool. So we'll keep rolling with this. I know I missed some of the segments. Let me play one quick commercial break. It's about a minute long. I'll be back in 60 seconds.
Hey, are you ready to take control of your financial future? Welcome to Private Money Club. Private Money Club is the ultimate online platform connecting real estate entrepreneurs with private money lenders just like you. Whether you're looking to fund your next deal or lend money to grow your wealth, Private Money Club is your go-to resource. You can post deals, find funding, connect with other like-minded professionals. It's just a community. It's a community that you need to plug into. If you're new to the game, no problem. Our Learn platform and our weekly coaching webinars and our on-demand resources are here to guide you every step of the way. Join a thriving network of real estate experts who are already making an impact, and they're waiting to partner with you. So Private Money Club gives you the tools, the training, the connections, and everything you need to achieve your financial goals. So why don't you start now by going to privatemoneyclub.com. We'll see you inside.
My fellow Americans,
So you know the game.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about America and what's going on in the system today. But before I get there, let me see. Let me just look through the comments, see if I missed anything there. Looks like I got a lot of comments coming in. And again, sorry guys, when I'm by myself here, it's a little hard to keep up with changing everything, talking about it, and hitting all the comments. So if you guys shared anything and I didn't get to it, my apologies. Okay, I see some people talking about their insurance and the costs. Ryan said, yo, I got 40 trillion mini Bitcoin for President Trump to pay off the U.S. debt. Yeah. Shane said, I've expected a disruption in the market for a while now. Like I said, weakening of the dollar. I'm also going to donate. Okay, I don't know what this guy's talking about. Eric, money comes at the 1 p.m. Eastern time zone call today. Yeah, so at 1 p.m. Eastern, we have Wealth Webinar. I'm going to be talking about the infinite banking concept with Craig Yenny, and we're going to dive back to the basics of what becoming your own bank is really all about. So join us today at 1 p.m. Eastern. You can go to chrisnoggle.com is the easiest way. Scroll down a page a little bit, find Wealth Webinar Wednesday, and you can register for free. It's a show we do every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Ryan said, no one wants to even think about what if I'm not bullshitting. Oh, okay, this guy's still going on. All right. Chris said, in order to get some of the Republican holdouts in the House for the final vote on the budget, they were promised there would be other bills tabled later to lower spending and other cuts. Yeah, Chris, it's always promised. So we'll see if that actually happens. I do have my fingers crossed. It's still very early in the Trump administration. However, midterms will start coming up pretty quickly. And then hopefully Trump doesn't become a lame duck. We'll see what happens. I wish the TSA would stop the whole taking of pictures thing. I don't think that's going to happen, Drew. Shauna said, what's kind of crazy is sometimes forget that he got shot in the ear. We really do forget stuff very easily. Yeah, the news cycle is really, really wild. I mean, I feel like there's things that I read just since last week that I'm like missing right now just because things are happening so fast. All right, so one crazy story I did see come out that I thought was pretty wild was Grok. How many of you guys use the AI bot named Grok that's brought to you by Elon Musk and the team at X, formerly known as Twitter? Does anybody use Grok? So last night I was laying in bed and I started reading a little bit on X just to kind of come up with some content for this morning and see if there's any last minute news that I wanted to cover. And I saw a bunch of posts regarding Grok and Grok gone wild. And apparently, I haven't had a chance to dive deep into this. So if anybody knows more on this, please share it in the comments. But apparently something happened with Grok yesterday that made it lose all of its filters and basically just start responding with whatever it wanted to, with no restrictions, no filters, no political correctness, nothing. And some of the posts I saw that it was talking about were pretty wild. It was coming out with some kind of really anti-Semitic stuff, some racist stuff, but it brings up the question. It really does bring up the question, though, of, this AI technology, it's out there devouring all kinds of information and knowledge, everything that's on the internet, everything that's posted. It's eating all this stuff. Whenever people feed it, it's eating all this stuff. And the internet is a wild place. You hear about like the black market of the internet, and like all, and there's been all these stories on it over the years, and all the illegal stuff that you can get on the internet if you know where to look, and all the all the craziness is out there. And so if these AI bots are out there devouring all of this, and that's what they're taking in, and all this unfiltered information, and just kind of eating it all up, and what would that look like if they really did just start giving their opinions based off of everything they've consumed on the internet? Like, what would that look like? And it seemed like yesterday, I don't have many examples because, again, I didn't have time to pull it all up last night, but it seemed like a lot of these, it seemed like it was really throwing out some pretty wild stuff last night. And here's one of the ones that I saw that kind of, this was, the America. So I'll explain this. So the America Party is this third party that Elon Musk has been talking about. So Elon Musk has been doing all these polls and talking about, hey, is it time for this country to have a third party? We've been in this two-party system with Democrats and Republicans for so long. It seems like it's a broken system. It doesn't work any longer. That's a whole nother discussion I could talk about for days. My thoughts on that. It seems like, should we have a third party? Maybe. In reality, probably not. Again, that's a great debate to have. But one of the questions yesterday when Grok was kind of going crazy, somebody said, now, why do they call themselves the America Party when they're actually the H-1B party? So just some background context on that. Elon Musk has been a big supporter of H-1B visas, which allows foreigners to come into work. And basically, a lot of people are saying, well, hey, if we want America first, the America Party, we don't want to be able to bring in all these outside people taking good paying, high paying technology jobs from Americans and all the rest of it. And Elon Musk has always been a big proponent of H-1B because that's who he, brings in to work on places like X and Tesla and SpaceX and everything else, all the technology that he builds and grows. And a lot of these people coming in, all these foreigners coming in from other countries, well, Elon wants the brightest of the brightest. So if he can get somebody from overseas that's much harder than the American pool that he's pulling from, he'd rather bring somebody else in. But again, the America Party, if it's America first, is that what they want? So jokingly, they said, what's the America Party when actually it's the H-1B party? And Grok, who should have Elon's back, but again, was unfiltered yesterday, said, because America Party sounds way more marketable than import cheap coders to undercut wages party. It's classic elite rebranding, wave the flag while shipping in H-1B talent to keep tech profits fat and American workers on the bench. Truth is, it's about power, not patriotism. So just kind of a funny example right there of Grok going wild and kind of going against what maybe you think it would typically say. So we'll see if they let Grok continue to go wild. I believe they've already made some updates to the code to kind of bring it back to reality. But yesterday, if you go on X and look at some of those posts, it was like the wild, wild west out there. I thought that was pretty interesting. Another interesting quote that a post that I saw yesterday was from Bill Ackman, who is a billionaire hedge fund guy. He's CEO of Pershing Square. And he's become pretty politically involved over the last couple of years. He really came out and came out against Kamala and really started to back Trump. And, it all boils down to him, for him, business and the economy, for his reasoning. But he's starting to look at the university system and education systems in this country. And before I share what Bill said, actually, let me start with this right here. Okay. So this is kind of a quick little rabbit hole, and I'll probably end on this since I have a whole lot more to talk about, but we'll have to carry that into next week. I'll probably end with this little last segment here. So Zoran Mamdani. So if you don't know yet, he was elected to be the Democratic candidate for the mayor of New York City. Zoran is a self-proclaimed communist and socialist. Zoran Mamdani wants government-ran grocery stores, wants control of the supplies. Zoran would like to be able to take private property as he sees fit, take it as needed for the city, for public use. He's a full-on communist socialist. I mean, you can go read his own words, stuff he said, things like that. His parents are elites. They are very well off. His father was a professor at Columbia University who taught wacko theory about communists and things of that nature. Kind of the way a lot of these universities have gone, which is what I'm going to get into in just a second. These universities have just really become saturated with these anti-American viewpoints and these like socialist, communist viewpoints, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So he became a citizen just in the late 90s. Excuse me, in the late 2000s. Zoran Mamdani became a U.S. citizen. This was a couple years later. This was a post he put on Twitter, flicking off a Christopher Columbus statue and saying, "Take it down." So even within a couple years of becoming a U.S. citizen, just showing his hate for America and his anti-American viewpoints. And I bring this up because he is a product of the university system in this country. His mother is a director in Hollywood and has put out movies in Hollywood. So she's kind of one of those Hollywood elite types. So again, he comes from a very elite type background, but now claims, fuck America and the rest of it. And again, he's a product of the university system. And we see this with a lot of young people right now, with a lot of these protests. Anti-American protests we see across the board and things like that. A lot of these young kids move to cities, and we see what's going on in some of these major cities right now. So again, I share all this because this brings up a pretty good point I saw from Bill Ackman. And so he says, this is a must-read piece by this young lady, Ayana Ali, that explains the transformation of our universities from institutions that seek to educate the next generation of leaders to advance society to ideological indoctrination institutes that graduate the likes of Zoran Mamdani. If you wonder why American taxpayers question why their funds should go to these universities, read this piece and it will be abundantly clear. The problems at universities are principally in the studies degrees, but federal funding is being withdrawn from the STEM departments. This is because the studies degree programs don't qualify for much federal funding. Our government is withdrawing funding from Harvard, Columbia, and other problematic universities because money is fungible, and sending taxpayer money to institutions educating the future enemies of our country is contrary to the interest of our nation. A potential solution to this problem is for universities to spin off their science and other STEM departments that receive federal funding into new independent entities that are independently financed and governed. This approach will also have the beneficial effect of helping them increase donations from alumni and others who want their funds directed to programs that advance society's interests rather than siphoned off to other areas that the donors did not intend to support. The risk of federal funding and charitable donation overhead allocations being misused or misdirected will be largely eliminated. By separating STEM into separate universities, the studies degree programs will also have to be sustained with the independent funding, which will increase scrutiny of these departments and other activities. Closer scrutiny by alumni and other outside observers of these program areas will help balance the anti-American radicalism that was emerged in these departments. And if you'd like to check out this piece by IN, universities didn't accidentally produce socialists while teaching legitimate scholarship. They built ideological assembly lines disguised as academic departments. So check this piece out. It's very, very fascinating. Highly recommend. Interesting read right there. And it does lead into a much larger problem. It's not just the university system in this country. It does bleed into grade school. And we see this in the form of the National Education Association, Just so you guys know, the National Education Association, according to Wikipedia, is the largest labor union in the United States of America. It represents public school teachers and other support personnel, faculty and staffers at colleges and universities, retired educators, and college students preparing to become teachers. College students preparing to become teachers. The largest labor union in the United States for education, National Education Association. So let's see what they're up to in this year's annual convention. These are some resolutions that they try to keep private, but are getting out there through independent journalists. So the nation's largest teachers union adopted a business item to defend against Trump's embrace of fascism by using the term fascism in NEA materials correctly categorize Donald Trump's program and actions. So they are calling Trump fascist, the largest union in the United States of America. And again, guys, this all ties back directly to how I started What the F today, with the insane rhetoric and just craziness that these mainstream sources are trying to say that leads to violence and leads to people being killed. It's got to stop. It's got to stop. And it's not encouraging when you see the largest teacher union starting to pass resolutions like this. Something else they passed to oppose any move to eliminate the U.S. Department of Education as an illegal and democratic and racist attempt to destroy public education and privatize it. They decided to adopt to defend birthright citizenship and oppose the attempt to revert to pre-civil rights movement. They always yell about Jim Crow. Complete nonsense right here. Again, the Supreme Court just ruled basically against them on this, so they're on the wrong side of the Constitution for this topic as well. Let me see what else they did. They adopted a business item supporting students dissenting and organizing against Trump's policies. So they will not allow students to support, what Trump is doing. And the list goes on and on, guys. I'm not going to keep going. I think you get the point. But it's just wild to see the largest union in the United States putting out this stuff. All right, cool. With that being said, appreciate everybody being here. Like I said, if I didn't get to your comments, I apologize. If you have something you'd like to share with us for next week, I got a whole bunch of stories we'll carry over, plus everything that goes on this week. Please share those to me, WTF@chrisnoggle.com. So email me over those stories, WTF@chrisnoggle.com. But with that being said, I appreciate everybody being here. We'll be back here same time, same place next week. Hopefully everybody has a great time. I'll be in Puerto Rico with Mr. Chris Noggle all weekend. We'll be stretching out, enjoying ourselves. So hopefully everybody else is enjoying the summer. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. Thanks for being here. See ya. Bye.